Hi, this is Gail Nettles with Beaded Jewelry Diva. Today we are going to do some tubular herringbone. What I have right here are some examples of jewelry that I've made using tubular herringbone, and I'll talk a little bit more about these and what I did to create them towards the end of the video. But for right now, let's go ahead and learn the basic of tubular herringbone. Here are the supplies that you're going to need. You will need some size 8 seed beads, and let me see, I have two different colors. You can use other size seed beads, but I'm doing size 8 just so you can see the stitch a little bit better. I also have a bead of another color that I'm going to use for the stop bead. I have needle and thread. I am using a darker thread. This happens to be 1G that I'm using today, so you can go ahead and see my thread a little bit easier. Just contrast. Needle, you can use size 10, 11, 12, whatever you prefer if you're using size 8 seed beads. And of course I have a pair of scissors. That's what we'll need to go ahead and get started for this demo. So that being said, let's get started. To get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put on my stop bead first. So go ahead and put my needle and thread through the bead and then back through the bead in the same direction. I like to leave about a 6 to 8 inch tail just in case I want to go ahead and weave my needle and thread back up through the work to tighten up the first couple of rows, or in case I want to do something interesting with an embellishment. So I go ahead and I'm going to pick up 4 beads. I'm going to pick up 2 of the turquoise and then 2 of the gold. Run them all the way down to the stop bead, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my needle and thread back through all 4 of the size 8 seed beads and pull tight. Now what I'm going to end up with, let's see, is I'm going to end up with 2 side by side. So you can see that I have 2 here and 2 here. Now this is, I like to start a ladder stitch with 2 different beads. I know it's kind of strange, but that's the way I do it with this particular stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 2 more of the turquoise beads. Now you see that my thread, and let me see if I can get this a little bit better, get the stop bead out of the way. My thread is coming out of the bottom of the gold beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle going the opposite direction. So the working thread is coming out here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my needle down through the top. So always put it in the opposite direction. So there I pull it tight, and so now I have 3 different columns. I'm going to add another column, so I pick up 2 of the gold beads. Whoops, sorry about that. Before I do that, I need to go ahead and run my needle up through the last 2 turquoise beads that I added. So now my thread is coming out of the top of the turquoise bead. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up 2 golds, and I'm going to put my needle through the bottom. So the opposite direction of where the working thread is coming through. So now I've gone ahead and I've got these 4. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle down through the 2 gold on the end. And what I want to do is now I want to go ahead and put on 2 more pairs. So I'm going to put on a pair of the turquoise. So again, my working thread's coming down here, so I want to put my needle down through the opposite side, then up through the next 2 beads, or through the beads that I just added. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more set of gold beads. So again, thread's coming out of the top, I'm putting my needle up through the bottom. And of course, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and put it down. So now I've got a ladder stitch that consists of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 beads. This is what's going to form my tube, but before I do that, I want to go ahead and add a few more beads to make it easier for when I go ahead and create the tube, because I do it a different way. I create my tubes by going ahead and doing each side against the other. So in other words, I roll it into a tube. I think that makes it a whole lot easier. So before I do that, let's just do a few more regular herringbone stitches before we get to the tubular. Okay, right now you can see where I have my stop bead on this side and I have my working thread coming down out of this gold bead. What I'm going to do is, instead of weaving my needle up through so I can come up out of the top of this blue bead, I am going to flip my work and I'm going to continue right where I left off with this gold bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a few herringbone stitches, and I will show you the first one up close, and then just so you don't have to keep watching me repeat it, I'll do the rest of them. So I pick up a gold bead and I pick up a turquoise bead. I am going to go down through both of the next two beads on mine, so this set of turquoise beads, down through, pull it tight, and then up through the next set of gold beads. And I'm going to continue to do this through the rest of the row. I'm going to go ahead and put on a gold and a turquoise, down to up through the next one, and I'll join you when I've got to the end of this row. Okay, so I've gotten to the end, and now, I could just go ahead and do the same thing. I could flip it and then, work this way, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up through the next two gold beads to the next column, up through the two golds, and then I'm going to cross over and go into the top of the turquoise. And this is the way you traditionally go ahead and do the new rows in herringbone. So now I'm set to do another set of herringbone across. So I'll just do the first one so you can see it. So I picked up a turquoise and a gold. I'm going down through one gold, pull it tight, and then up through the next turquoise. And then do that for the remaining columns, and I'll join when I'm finished with the columns. Okay, now you see I have gotten all my columns done, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll it into the tube now. So I'm going to bring each side against the other. Now I've got my thread coming out of the second gold bead from the top. I'm going to put my needle up through the corresponding bead on the other end of the tube, so the second turquoise from the top, and then up through that one, and then up through the top one. So now what I've done is I've joined it into a tube. Now it's not very stable at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it down through the next gold bead again. So this is the same, gold on the other side of the column, and then back up through this turquoise, and I've just stabilized that part of the column, or that part of the tube. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick up a turquoise and a gold, because I want to keep on with the same pattern, and I'm going to go down through one bead, so the top gold, going down through it, and then up through one. So this would be the next turquoise in the pattern. Pick up a turquoise and a gold, down through the next gold. So again, I'm going down through the top of this one gold, pull tight, up through the next turquoise, and this is going to be the last column in this particular row. Whoopsie daisy. There we go. Okay, so this is the last row in this particular, or last column in this row. So turquoise and a gold, down through this gold, pull tight. And now you see what I'm going to do is I've got all of them all even, and my thread is coming out of this gold bead. So right between these top two, I'm going to go again over to the corresponding blue beads, so second from the top, go up, and now you're in a position to go ahead and continue with your tube. Go ahead and make this as long as you want it to be, and then you can go ahead and put on a clasp of your choice at either end, and you've got a bracelet or a necklace. Now I'm going to say on this particular one, I've made it into a tube, but it's kind of unstable at this point now. I made it with 6 columns because I wanted you to see the different color pattern. But if I was going to do this into a real tube with size 8 seed beads for my own purposes, I would probably go ahead and use 5 columns instead of 6 across. And I'd probably use a different color pattern too. But anyway, this will go ahead and make for a great tube. This is a great way to learn. It's a great introduction to tubular herringbone. Now let me go ahead and show you some of the jewelry that I've made with tubular herringbone in the past, and explain to you a little bit about how I made them and what kinds of seed beads I use. I want to show you some jewelry that I've made with tubular herringbone. This is a bracelet I made a few years back. It has size 11 seed beads and then size 8 seed beads. And I just went ahead and put on a peyote clasp that I made, and this is a fun little bracelet. It has a little bit of texture to it since it has the 8s and the 11s. Another one I made is this one, along the same idea, but what I did is I used size 11s, size 8s, and then 16 and size 6s. So it makes for a very interesting thicker and thinner bracelet, so 11s, 8s, and 6s. And then of course my peyote clasp on it. So this one's a lot of fun. It's really a cool little bracelet. It's very easy to do, really. My favorite tubular herringbone that I've ever made is this particular one. I made it with some permanently galvanized gold seed beads. It has a magnetic clasp that is very low profile, so it's about the same diameter as the tube. And then what I have done is I can slide on and off these large hole beads, and these are large hole beads that I made. And you know, it can be very simple, just a few beads that you go ahead and sew into a circle, to stuff that's a little bit more complicated. But these are great because you can slide them on and off as you want to, and it makes for a really fun necklace made with tubular herringbone. So I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial today, and go ahead and visit me at beadedjewelrydiva.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss another new video. And this is Gail Middle saying thanks for watching, and have a beautiful day. Bye.